Hello, everyone. Meet Gurpreet. Gurpreet, you are a product leader and you have nearly 2 decades of experience into product management, and you are a consultant as well into product space. And you're a speaker, agile aspects and on retrospectives. And you're also a blogger. So when we look at your LinkedIn, we see a post every day about the product as well as on the life experiences, and recently on the AI and chat GPT side of things. And these posts, they all have your essence.
Thank you so much, Yarul, for having me here. Hi, everyone. I am Gurpreet. I'm a product leader. Was lucky enough to work in different domains, from pharma to mobile apps to communication platform. You said it right. That's a well summary. And I love writing. I write a lot on LinkedIn. Primarily more active on these days. Here we go.
May I also tell people about one of your favorite posts that I really enjoy? And that is when you say that perfect product is like a pizza. If delivery gets late, customer gets irate. That was one of the most hilarious one, but it's also very connected to our real life. And then the second, it's followed by if delivery is hasty, but the pizza is not tasty, the whole process is wasty.
Indeed. I used to write for newspapers, Hindustan Times in India, and for so many years. So I'm not able to get time. So the poet in me is kind of surviving. The poetic side is adding to the product side, and getting these sports are the output of those. And but yeah, I totally in sync with that post. We need to do a kind of a thin line balance of a product delivery as well as the product quality. With these two parameters, they should meet the customer needs. So in the taking the same example, if the customer needs a vegetarian pizza, so we cannot give a non-vegetarian pizza to the customer, even though the delivery is perfect and the quality is superb, but that is not meeting the customer needs, for example. So that small poem was around that piece only.
That's great. That was a good reference, Gurpreet. Now let's go back to all your experience in the last 20 decades, 20 years, 2 decades. So, all right. So when you've started into a product owner role. So, and that long back, product roles were not that common. So how was it back then working in a product space?
I think when I started off way back in Dell, it was not. I was not even sure of a role called product management or product owner at that time, as you rightly said. So it was a kind of an experiment, a kind of a POC or MVP, whatever we call it. And it was just an internal project for the fellow colleagues, and I just kind of was jumping onto this, and things started connecting. And even after touching the product owner role, I also touch base heavily on the process side of the roles, on agile and scrum and all. So this way I was fortunate to see both the sides of the table. And the domains were also, I changed a lot, from IT to management consulting to pharma to cybersecurity to car rentals to communication platforms. So there were all kind of mobile apps, all sorts of different domains. So I was able to borrow the good things, and it was not like best practices. It was hit and try, and I learned on the go. Sometimes the soft way or the hard way. Yeah, that is how it works.
Historically, I see from transitioning, just for an example, transitioning from a product owner role to a product manager role is quite challenging. I would like to talk to you about that aspect as well, because in my own personal experience working as a product owner, I found it so hard for the organizations I was interested in interviewing with. What skills that I have as a PO that makes me eligible for a product manager role. So that's one of the questions that some of my colleagues and friends also ask me on. So we would like to talk on that if we will have some advice on what would you recommend those candidates?
I think there are two sides of the coin here. So the if we go by the book, the product owner transitions to a product manager. So product owner is more tactical, more towards the team, and the product manager is more strategic,
Right.
more towards the upper management, managing up. But that is the bookish answer, basically.
Right.
Many companies these days are using these words interchangeably. A product owner doing product manager and vice versa. Irrespective, there is no right and wrong. It depends on the domain, the product maturity, the organization maturity. How old is the organization? I worked in Johnson Johnson, which is 100 years old company. I worked in OLX, which was less than 5 years of existence. So I cannot use the best practices of OLX and Johnson Johnson, for example, because there the organization life cycle is also not that mature enough as a whole. And also the subset of it is a product life cycle. Is the product greenfield, brownfield? How is the product you are going from 0 to 1, or is already live for the last 10 years? So in that case, we probably need to use Dave Snowden's Cine1 framework as well: complex, complicated, chaos, and all. Depending on, and also the last piece is the team and the stakeholder awareness of the context as well as the competitor landscape.
Right. Interesting. And so when you had started, was it the waterfall methodology that you would use back then?
Totally, totally. And waterfall plus what I call it is the hippo, highest paid person opinion. So
Okay.
the whole customer need angle was not that clear, or was diluted, or maybe it was only reserved for the upper management. Maybe that was the case. But whatever the upper management said, it was going towards a cascading effect to the team. The whole concept of the classical iron triangle of scope, cost, time, and the quality is inside was heavily kind of waterfalled onto the team.
Right.
Team was kind of involved only at the later on when the product is already onboarded, basically.
Right, right. 10 years ago, I remember I worked in the waterfall environment, and then that agile, I didn't really understand that what we were doing at that stage. But
Mhm.
it got more clearer, I think somewhere around 2016, 2017, that I got more awakened to agile and Scrum. How was your experience?
I think waterfall is not bad. Uh, so let's not villainize waterfall.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and a study was done, and which was saying, for example, Gantt charts are a good indicator of a waterfall project or a program or product. If the variability is less than 2%, waterfall is the best framework to use in.
Right.
If we rewind 100 years back, the whole good building construction like Qutub Minar or Taj Mahal or whatever, they had fixed scope, fixed quality, and fixed time, and fixed amount of headcount, the resources, the human resources. So they were kind of doing kind of waterfallish way, or the pyramids for that matter, based on the best of our knowledge, because the scope was not changing. So the day one they were starting a pyramid, day two they did not make a tower out of it. They completed the pyramid. How many years it took? It was a fixed scope. But now the variability of 2% is not there anymore. The world is changing so fast, not because your strategy is changing as an organization. For example, Nokia's and Kodak's, they thought the world is static.
Okay.
They were the leaders. Nokia was a leader for like 25 years. But the Samsungs and iPhones disrupted the market space, and they couldn't see it. So it's only not your strategy or your goal changing as an organization. It is a competitor disrupting your ecosystem as well. So to do that, now answering your question, you need to use the agile whether you like it or not. You deliver so fast with a set of quality standards, and you give it to the customer, so the customer is in the loop forever. And then you iterate, and sometimes you need to uh, kill the product as a whole as well. Google did that for many of the products they acquired. Orkut is a big example for that matter.
A lot of people ask me on how to get into a product owner or a product manager role, and how to transition from a PO to a PM role. And even now, back then, we will also compare back then what were the skill criteria, and now what a product manager must possess the skill set to be successful in the role.
Good question, and I think it will help the whole lot. People trying to get into the product management space.
Right.
So let's rewind it. So the product owner, as we said earlier, is the key skills which are needed. Is the foremost skill for any sort of product role is communication.
Right. Yes.
So if I want to summarize the product manager role, I have two words: communication and context. Communicate everything,
Right.
even the bad news. And without context, it's nothing. So I'll tell you one thing. So the question is communication at different levels, in different formats. For example, communicating with the team, you get the requirements from the stakeholders, try to get the essence of the KPIs, and get it taking in the big initiatives, big uh, features into small epics and stories, and getting coordinating with team, and getting it through in Agile or Waterfall or any framework for that matter, and getting this iterated. And also, this is the vision going down and execution going up in daily sprints or stand-ups or fortnights or months, so that the product vision is kind of delivered in small bit pieces, and the stakeholders are in the loop. Also, the team is in the loop, that their line of code is helping which customer and how. In many companies I worked with, there was a huge disconnect between a developer writing a code, a tester testing the code,
Right.
and the actual product helping a customer. So there
Right.
were three big silos, uh,
And
and they are not connected in a way.
and was it when the waterfall was in practice?
Uh, Totally, I don't want to villainize Waterfall. It's not bad, but the
Yeah.
whole concept of how it will help the customer was missing.
All right.
The customer connect was missing in this whole context. It is Waterfall, Agile, or whichever mix and match.
Interesting.
So
Right.
to start with, focus on communication and
Yeah.
context.
Okay.
That is, I'll advise to all the fellow product owners and all. And then the two other words I use is funnel and firewall. So funnel the requirements from all the stakeholders and pass it to the team. That does not mean that your team members cannot talk to the stakeholders. They should be talking, but the stakeholders should not be giving side requests from different channels to the team members directly. I mean, as rare as possible. And then you create a firewall around the team to protect your team.
Right. Very interesting.
So communication and context, that's one. Funnel and firewall. Normally, the firewalling piece is missed in the product world. I talk to a lot of product owners these days.
Right.
They feel it's a scrum master role or some other role, but I think that is also a product role to protect the team. If the team is empowered and motivated, as Vineet Nair, there is a book called from Vineet Nair, Employees First, Customer Second. So if the team is happy, they will take care of the customers. You don't need to take care of the customers.
Certainly.
That's the second advice I will give to as a starter piece. The third piece I say is data and story. Every story needs to be validated with some sort of data point, even though even if it's hypothesis, a fake data or a mock data. And also every data point should be validated with the story. Just an example. If we deliver the homepage speed of any website to 2 seconds, homepage number is a data point, the homepage speed. But what is the story around it? So less customers will bounce off from the homepage,
Right.
and more customers will go through the funnel, and then more customers will complete the transaction. So
Right.
from opportunity to lead to conversion,
Right.
they are more into the funnel. So that's the story behind it. When we deliver this project, it might it might happen. The effort is null. The product is a failure. Then the communication. Then yeah, we failed. This hypothesis was wrong. So every data point needs to be validated with a story.
Lovely.
What will happen or what might happen, and every story needs to be validated with some data point. These are the three pieces. So back as a summary: communication and context,
Right.
funnel and firewall, data and the story.
Sorry. And if the employees are happy, they will look after the customers.
That's fun. And Vineet Nair, the HCL CEO.
Lovely. Vineet Nair. Mhm.
As we discussed, we started off the when I started off in the product space, it was kind of an experiment.
Right.
The whole project was internal. It was just for the fellow colleagues,
Right.
and it was more of a coordination role. The whole concept of customer was kind of behind the management curtains.
Right.
So the requirements were given from us to the management, and
Right.
the whole concept of hippo, highest paid person opinion,
Yeah.
was so much uh, prevalent there, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I started, and it was more on the coordination side, and when I started off, and I started liking it, I think that is the way I should be going.
Lovely.
Organization, the agile and scrum was not that there,
Right.
that organization at that time, or maybe not that prevalent in the world as well.
Right.
And I'm talking with the likes of 2006. The company was in Six Sigma, so we were talking about green belts and black belts and all. But
Right.
this product was not that super disciplined on Six Sigma because it was an internal project. But I learned a lot on this product, and the whole concept of how to get the requirements, getting the requirements from the managing up side, the management, and funneling it to the team, coordinating, sharing the reports, sharing the status. I was brand new when I joined this company. I did not know anything about this human trait, basically. I was super good at doing my own work, but coordination and getting the work done was is an art.
Right.
It takes time,
Right.
and there are difficult, not difficult. I'll say there are different personality, and you need to kind of be soft and hard. And the whole advice I'll give is keep the things objective and not subjective. So if you don't like a person in the team, or you are finding it difficult because the person, let's say you are an extrovert, the person is introvert, he's not sharing much status, so you need to bend your ways and keep the objective. What is the objective? To get the product live. How it will affect? It will get X new customers, or it will affect the dollar value in some way. It will be risk reduction like GDPR, whatever the objective of the product, and it will help the organization as a whole. So I think that part will keep the team in sync and harmony, and that will dilute the individual silos in the team. That is one team, one motto kind of environment.
Right.
That I learned on the go, and it was. Uh, I don't think there is a course to it.
Yeah.
Any coach can tell you this is the experience you need to go through a team. I think that is prevalent in any team event like sports. You need to work as a team, not individual sports, but you work in a team. In a tennis or a badminton, you are front hand, back hand, or you work in pairs. Or cricket, you have 11 working together in a team. So that is how you work with each other and how you coexist for the common goal, that is objective in this case. That is that is the foremost experience, and that unites the team as well. That is the first experience I'll say. And I moved. That was a completely, the company was B2C, but then I moved to management consulting. I worked in McKinsey and Company, and the whole projects were B2B. I worked on a lot of survey products, internal products, as well as external products, and then my journey. I started reading about Agile, and I was super keen how this new thing is onto the fore, and I got kind of excited. So I started reading about it, and I wrote a blog and all. I wrote a first blog on Scrum Alliance. At that time, they don't publish every blog. You give them a blog, they will review it, and if they like it, then they publish it. It was a kind of a moderation queue from Scrum Alliance at that time,
Right.
and they published my first blog, and then I got super excited. So yeah, so I think, and I said, okay, yeah, this is the way forward for the world
Right.
to deliver any product, basically. And in McKinsey, we were fortunate to work with a lot of B2C products spread across different domains.
Okay.
So McKinsey was a completely altogether a different ball game. I learned a lot, spent there for like 5 years and all. The whole concept of my agile journey started from there, more or
Right.
less. And the whole concept of data, also data connect, also started from there,
Okay.
because they have tons of proprietary data. That is a business, more or less. Everything needs to go through a data point, basically. Then I moved to a pharma company, a US healthcare. Now, because of healthcare industries, the regulations are stronger, so everything needs to document.
Right.
Another skill set to highlight there: respect the domain of the organization.
Right. Okay. That's very valuable option point that you have mentioned, Gurpreet, because I do experience it in my current role. I'm working on a government project right now, and we do have a lot of strict guidelines and risk and compliance and all the strict process that we have to go through. And this is a very valuable message that you have shared, that respect the organization and the process.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally. If the organization is in a regulated environment like domain, like sorry, pharma, for example, and you need to document it, whether we like it or not. So it was a kind of a US healthcare system, coordinating with the US healthcare company, doing a kind of a ERP patients system, and it was needs to be full documented. I was involved in getting them off from Waterfall to Agile way in some way. Then I moved to OLX at the head office in Argentina. So I I got my passport after getting a job there. Moved to Argentina at the OLS head office in Buenos Aires.
Right.
Now it was completely open. Now I I worked in pharma, US healthcare, which was kind of regulated. Now this was everything was super open. It was a mobile app, but
Okay.
then the I learned a lot. And the key elements in there was Argentina, and then they started acquiring companies in different domains and all. OLX became from a startup, from Argentine startup to a multinational.
All right.
So we were having fellow teams in India, in South Africa, in Europe, and all. So India and Argentina were like 8.5 hours gap. So the key piece which we understood was get the team close to the ground,
Okay.
because at that point the development team was only based in Argentina.
All right.
So we were coordinating heavily with
Okay.
marketing teams in India, in South Africa, Kenya, and all. So, and in lean they call it, the biggest cost is the coordination cost or the
Right.
handover cost. That thing was taking a lot of time. So finally the teams were got spun up in different locations. Will be my advice.
So that was a very important message to share as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we finally spun up the teams that close to the place because
Right.
of time zone gaps.
Right.
That was not sustainable.
Right.
Second piece else, an extension to what I said, the coordination cost. Second is find a sustainable rhythm.
Right.
How
Right.
frequently you can deliver the product, not once off, on a regular cadence. Example, I was talking to Ashley and RJ Singh. They are fitness coaches on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and I wrote a comment on them yesterday or something. So I I steal their post, repost with my own comments. That's what I'm doing these days.
Right. Okay.
Uh, all or nothing. I One of the posts is all or nothing is nothing. Perfectionism for consistency is everything.
Definitely. Right.
So find a sustainable rhythm for your product meetings,
Right.
for a product delivery, product reports, not one off. I'm also kind of struggling. If I start a gym, for the first few weeks, I go regularly without fail. If, unless the earth is broken into two pieces, I go there. But after a few months, the spiral goes down.
Yeah.
Then I couldn't go back into the same rhythm. So all or nothing looks good on the papers, but it's not sustainable in life. So we have family and office work and coordination and whatever. So it needs to be a perfect rhythm.
Sure.
So whatever we take the product decisions, they need to be taken in a sustainable, rhythmic way. So
Right.
customers expect Charul will be delivering a podcast every Monday 8 p.m. Just an example.
Yeah.
So they'll wait for it. We missed the part. They don't speak English. I don't speak
Right.
Spanish. So,
No way.
so I learned Spanish there on the go
Okay.
and lived there for 2 years. And then I went back to Ireland from Argentina
Okay.
in Johnson Johnson, which was a pharma company. And again, it was pharma, full set of regulations. Everything is documented. Auditors on the calls of sprint plannings and daily stand-ups and everything. Few projects were stalled in pre-production because the corresponding documentation was missing.
All right.
And there were amazing developers on the product. The product quality was subpar. I mean, was superb.
Yeah.
And but they were not meeting the documentation standards because the developer said we are agile, so we don't need document. Another angle to it.
Right.
Without context, it is nothing. Agile is good. Agile does not say we don't need documentation. Agile says a working software over comprehensive documentation. It's over, not
Oh,
instead of.
yeah.
People mistake this with instead of.
Right.
So that product, which was a 1 year project or product, stood in pre-prod after to complete the documentation
Okay.
so that auditors are happy. But with every need, there comes some innovation, and I will say automate the things which you do regularly. For example, in this context, we were using Jira, Confluence, and they needed around 25 something documents in every sprint we do. And so we automated everything from Jira to Confluence. So the whole, for example, there was a document called RTM, Requirement Traceability Matrix. That was, in layman words, that was what you originally planned for sprint. What are you delivering in the sprint? Where is the gap? And if there is a gap, did you document the gap? In simpler words, time to produce those 25 documents, that was super Herculean. So we automated. So Jira pushes to Confluence. Confluence is we use a plugin that publish the page because they need a read only. Confluence is editable. Confluence pushes to a PDF,
Okay.
and the PDF is pushed to a shared drive. So those documents we automated to
Okay.
make the auditors happy.
Right.
So
Fantastic.
again, without context, it is nothing. Automate everything which you do
Right.
regularly.
Interesting.
And it was heavily documented and all, and we were also involved in creating data lakes. It was a classical company, something 100 years old.
Yeah.
Again, I came from OLX, which was less than 5 years old. I cannot use those open environment kind of practices in a company which is super conservative. Johnson starting the transition from a pharma company to a medical science company. That was a transition they were doing. So, and they started doing in-house development and all. So it cannot be copy pasted. So it was a transition and all. Then from there, I moved to ForcePoint, which was a cybersecurity company.
Okay.
Again, another set of regulations from pharma to cybersecurity side of the things, and the things were different. Then we were in a AWS environment,
Okay.
and completely CI/CD state. Then I moved to Hertz, which was a car rentals, another company, roughly 100 years old,
Right.
and going from the transition from a classical car rental company to mobility platform company.
Right.
So that was another transition I saw. I was fortunate to see those transformations, and I can see a big company working as a small startup and getting things across the line as much as possible with due quality. And the stakeholders were different, the products were different, the problems were different,
Right.
and it completely changes your perspective. Now the whole documentation piece in Johnson is not needed in
Okay.
Hertz ecosystem to that level. If we do that, now speed matters in this angle. Regulations do matter in car safety, for example, because we worked on telematics as well.
All right. Yeah.
So the things change. So context is everything. And to Twilio, and Twilio is heavily documented greenfield product communications as a platform, primarily B2B, likes of Uber, Deliveroo, and all pizza guys, and who are using the OTPs and bank OTPs and all. They are using the services from Twilio and other competitors to get the OTPs and chatbots and whatever. Heavily documented long PRDs and all. To extend the point, and unfortunately, in the current world, many organizations are getting blinded with the technical certifications.
Right.
And The recruiters are the messengers for those organizations, and if they don't see a particular certification like AWS or whatever, uh, s- I mean, especially for a product role, they reject many of the candidates. The certifications are not that bad. But they are business model. But the learning for certification is even more important than a certification. I'm not trying to villainize the recruiters. They are just the messengers for the organizations based on what they seek the requirements from the management. But now the likes of chat GPTs and all sorts of AI bots coming to the play, or the ATS systems. So if we scale these things up without fixing the root issue, what will happen is, in the earlier world, the human reading the CV and rejecting it because it is missing a particular certification, especially needed, especially applicable for a product role, that will be auto rejected in 10 seconds by a bot.
That's a very big risk. Very
And
challenging.
yeah, indeed. And uh, I am not a great fan of long CVs. But the problem is, I made a two-pager CV, roughly carrying as you said, two decades of experience. So
Right.
one of the recruiter gave me feedback like,
Hard.
bulk up the CV.
All right.
Those were the exact words.
Like,
Bulk
okay.
up the CV. And I said, it's difficult. I mean, but yeah, uh, if you are in a job hunt and all, you cannot, like, you need to kind of adhere to some recruiting formats,
All right.
and that is how the industry is trending towards.
Hmm.
Also, if you don't get the corresponding keywords, they'll you might not even get a chance to talk to the recruiters.
Right.
They will reject your CV right away.
Yeah.
So, and most of the emails, which when you apply, are no reply at the rate abc.com. So there is nobody you reach out to. So it's a kind of a dead end, in a way. So the whole industry is pushing the applicants even kind of add jazzy keywords in the CVs and projects and whatever. True or not, I will not comment there, but that is where the applicants are being pushed towards.
Question I will have for you is that how do you see the product industry changing in 2023, or how is it evolving for the next 5 years, 10 years down the line? How do you see your, yes, so even your role in Twilio is evolving?
I think with the likes of, I'll probably say with the industry level, uh, with the likes of LLMs and ChatGPT kind of pioneering in that angle, the whole concept of product management getting radicalized in a way. Many companies are being spun up on ChatGPTs to that level, to that extension. 2023 and beyond, a lot of AI and LLMs will enter our lives, will kill the individual innovation. Because let's say everybody using now Google, for example, just let's rewind few years back.
Right.
There was a study done in US when Google was kind of on the dominating stage in US around the launching years, that created a increase in the spelling errors of the US students,
Okay.
because now students are finding it difficult to remember the spellings because they just can Google.
Right.
I can talk about my example. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember my landline phone in India
Yes.
because I used to dial with the round or
Right.
the number pad because it's a muscle memory or something.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But I cannot remember a new phone number these days because the
Not
phones are recording for us. So
sure.
this is killing the memory part. I'm
Ex-
not saying technology is bad or something, but it is an enabler. So extending that same piece. So the whole concept of jobs will change in the next 5 years or so.
Interesting.
Because if everybody will be using the same technology, they call it hindsight, insight,
Okay.
foresight. Sight,
Yes.
insight, and foresight.
Right.
So these LLM models or AI, we will feed the data to these machine models.
Right.
I shared a post on LinkedIn that ChatGPT, OpenAI, I think they touch base with a company, Figure, I think, to create bots which
Okay.
will mimic human motions.
Yeah.
So hindsight, they'll get the data,
Right.
human motions, hand moving, leg walking, crawling, or whatever. That's the hindsight. They'll draw insights out of it, What is walking? They'll have one more data point for it. What is crawling? What is cruising for the babies and all? So then foresight.
Yeah.
Then they start suggesting you. And
Interesting.
based on this data, let's say your baby will start crawling in 6 months.
Right.
It
Yes.
will be everywhere. Cars. A small example is car. So
Yeah.
you fuel in. So car is using uh, let's say 50-liter tank. The car is using the hindsight and getting the insights out of it. How, on average, based on you're living on hilly areas, or you brake a lot, or you clutch a lot, what is your driving pattern, your driving traffic jams and all,
Mm.
what is 1 liter kilometer average for you, or a miles average,
Yeah.
the mileage. So based on the remaining fuel, petrol or diesel in the tank, how many kilometers your car can drive.
Sure.
That is the technology playing. That is a hindsight, insight, and foresight. It
So
is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but the thing is, it will get away the the human
memory.
intelligence involved. That
Right.
how much I can drive with my fuel and all. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And the memory part, it's playing with the memory
Yeah,
aspect
for sure, for sure.
time, and it's certainly not healthy.
Yeah.
Certainly not healthy. Gurpreet, another last question probably would be that how do you keep yourself up to date with the product trends? There is so much going on in the industry right now. Product is changing in such a fast pace. There are always new models coming in.
Honestly, you cannot catch up with everything.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
have to find
and
a niche.
yeah, find a niche uh,
And then, as you've also mentioned, the deep, the broad, the vocal, the long, and the solo. That one of the posts that you're going to write will also applies in here. That how broad you want to go, how deep you want to go with.
yeah, and I prefer started to go. I start with go broad,
Okay,
go wide or go broad, and then find a niche in this. You go deep in one of those elements,
right.
and you like it. Sometimes and you do think go long, go strategic. I mean, when I started running, someone said don't go fast, go long,
Right.
and you will go fast.
Right.
People go fast and they go slow, basically.
Right.
And because they're tired easily, their heart is pumping, and their body is not like accustomed to that running and all. So go long, keep it slow, and then the fast go vocal. You communicate with the people and all. You validate your ideas with LinkedIn, your fellow colleagues and all, and then you start seeing everything around you. And the last one is go solo. Few things need deep, uninterrupted solo time.
Right.
You put your phone on a D&D, do not disturb mode, and you that is a nirvana stage you need to go. And that will 20 minutes go solo will be far more effective than 5 hours interrupted time. So that is another advice. People out there,
Yes.
book your solo time
Lovely.
in
Definitely.
the calendar
Yeah.
every day. Uh, People in the olden world, they'll feel in the management folks that the person is not doing anything, but actually it is helping the product person. That's one. It is
Yes.
helping the product because it's output versus outcome.
Yeah.
It is a brain space that the person is needing, and it will help the company. Not
Definitely.
the time that matters. It is that the person will be recharged.
To recharge, more reflection, and
Yeah.
more thought process. And on one thing I wanted to also share is that I saw one of your posts where there were top 10 recommendation about our lives. So I read there that Einstein used to spend like days on his own by himself, just being in a quiet space. And a lot of saints and sages and a lot of brilliant people, you see, they always ask you to spend time by yourself, by your own, on your own at times, to have just your day by yourself, because it helps with recollecting the thoughts and analyzing them, and just kind of release some of the thoughts that are not needed. But spending time by yourself helps in so many different aspects of our life.
I wrote a blog on Scrum Alliance like 10 years back or something. The listening tree.
Okay.
So just go out in the yard, talk
Right.
to a tree, earmark the tree that this is the tree you need to talk to. Talk
Right.
to a tree and say your feelings, what you feel about the day and all.
Right.
The tree will not do anything. You will be relieved. You will get free oxygen. That's the
Yeah,
icing on the cake.
absolutely.
And you can basically you are talking to yourself.
Right.
And
Right.
then you realize the most important part of the life, there is nobody to help.
Right.
It
Yes.
is you in the situation.
Absolutely.
And another post I wrote about the TED dynamic, that the every fairy tale has three actors: the victim, the savior, and what do you call that? The third guy, the villain.
Right.
So the villain will torture the victim, and the savior will save the victim. That is just a fairy tale. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So so you that is another post I wrote some years back. So you talk to a tree, you understand the essence of life
Right.
is you are your own savior,
Absolutely.
and you are not a victim. You are a survivor.
Right. Absolutely. Wonderful.
That is how it's important. But that will happen, as you rightly said,
Yeah.
if you talk to yourself,
Right.
if you calm down a bit, and you that the things get going.
Right. Beautifully said. Gurpreet, one last question before we wrap up. We can also see that you run your Agile and Scrum trainings as well. You have your own project that you run. So do you also provide counseling and consulting to the candidates or
Not on the. I'm not capitalizing that as of now, but
oh,
I am running a non-profit group to get
right.
people with no monies or no formal trainings per se. But
Okay.
I do coach a lot on agile, scrum, product management, and helping people getting into these roles. Uh,
Right.
and we have a WhatsApp group as well, and I have around 16,000 something people connected on LinkedIn.
Wow.
So
Yes. Yes.
anybody is free to free to talk to me. I never I don't know that person request unless it's some marketing or something.
Sure.
But yeah, anybody can reach out to me, and I'm all in to help.